Would you be proud of what you're doing today when you have just 5 minutes left to live? That's the question to ask. It has to be something that can really improve people's lives. That became my mission statement essentially. And fast forward to today, we work with every large delivery company, Zomato, Swiggy, Flipkart, Amazon, Zepto, Blinkit, Uber, Rapido, etc. We are India's largest recruitment platform. We now get 25,000 people employed every single month.
How close you are working with OpenAI?
I had a chance to meet Sam Altman. I demoed our AI recruiter to him and he thought it was really cool. He invited me over to the OpenAI office and I met some of the people there. They're also very excited about working with us on this use case because it's something that is very different.
Is your service relatively cheaper than a human caller?
We've been able to drive down hiring costs by 20% or so. Our goal is to increase scale, bring down costs, and at the same time increase quality as well. And I'm very confident that AI can help us achieve all three things.
What are your thoughts on AGI?
AGI will happen a lot sooner than expected.
How big is the market which you are looking at and expanding?
Overall, the market of blue-collar work in India is massive. There are over 500 million blue-collar workers. We need to capture less than 1% of this market to build a billion-dollar business.
Welcome to the another episode of Tech Talks. This is Siddharth Jindal from AI Media House. And today we have founder of Vahan AI, Madhav Krishna with us. His startup is creating millions of jobs for gig workers in India for companies like Swiggy and Zomato. Hi Madhav, how are you doing today?
Hi Siddharth, doing super well and thanks for having me.
Really wanted to know more about your startup, how it's creating job for millions of workers out there who are delivering food for us, including Zomato, Swiggy. So wanted to know like the inception journey of your startup. Like we know that you studied Columbia.
Yeah.
So how did Vahan happen?
So I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I'm a software developer by training, like most Indians. But coding is something that came very naturally to me. I started programming at the age of 12. Did a lot of coding right through school, college. Then went to the US and did a master's in AI from Columbia University in New York. This was before the big AI boom, but I always believed that this technology will be a game changer at some point. And so decided to pursue that as my master's. And then post Columbia, I spent close to 8 years in the tech space in the US, working at different startups, ad tech space, e-commerce space, travel space, etc. And it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, worked on a lot of different types of problem statements, learned everything about building products, engineering, marketing, sales, people, all the aspects of running a business. But at some level, I still felt like there was something missing, and I remember doing this thought experiment. It's called the deathbed test. So it's something that Steve Jobs, in fact, has talked about in some of his interviews. So it goes like this. Essentially, you imagine yourself on your deathbed and you imagine you have just 5 minutes left to live. And in that moment, you try to reflect on what you're doing today. And you ask yourself whether you are proud of what you're doing, right? So essentially, would you be proud of what you're doing today when you have just 5 minutes left to live? That's the question to ask. And that's what I tried to optimize for. So I said, if I have to work on something that I'm going to be proud of later in my life and that I can give everything to, it has to be something that can really improve people's lives. That became my mission statement essentially. And I decided to move back to India to start Vahan with the mission of bringing opportunities to people. I think previously when we spoke, I also shared with you how we're very privileged as people, right? It turns out if you have access to the internet, if you have a roof over your head, if you have a college degree, and if you can get 3 meals a day, then you're part of just 7% of the world's population, right? So there's a lot of inequity in the world, and that's really what we created Vahan to change. The mission of the company is to bring opportunities to people. We started off in the skilling space, but we realized that it would be hard to build a large business in that space. And so we pivoted to the job space. And fast forward to today, we are India's largest recruitment platform. We now get 25,000 people employed every single month.
So and like you mentioned, like you started off as an upskilling company.
Yes.
So and like we started in 2016, and when generative AI was not there.
Right.
So like to know more about like what exactly was company doing back in 2016,
Yeah.
and without AI, what services it was providing to its customers, and like in what sectors were you upskilling?
It's actually a funny story because the very first product that we built, so that was a virtual teacher whom you could speak to on the phone. Her name was Lakshmi, and she would teach people English. So you didn't need a smartphone back then. You would just call a phone number, and Lakshmi would pick up the phone and say, "Hello, my name is Lakshmi. I'm your virtual English teacher, and what is your name?" And you would say, "My name is so and so," and she'd give you some feedback, give you points, and then the conversation would continue. She'd ask, "What do you do? Where are you from?" Those kinds of questions. So it was a very early version of an AI, essentially. More positioned as a teacher, as an English teacher. That was the very first product that we created. From there, we moved to a teacher or a trainer built into WhatsApp, which was more like a chatbot. This was, I think, in 2017 or 18. We realized that the penetration and usage of WhatsApp in India is just growing like anything. And so we decided to move to that. This was, in fact, before the WhatsApp API came out. Then the WhatsApp API came out in 2019, I think. 2019 February. That's when we got access to it. We were one of the first companies to get access. And then we built the chatbot within WhatsApp. But then realized that skilling wasn't going to be a large business, and we pivoted to jobs. So then it became a bot that would bring jobs to people. And fast forward to today, we're actually building an AI recruiter that people can talk to on the phone. So they won't even need a smartphone really to get a job. And Gen AI really has enabled that kind of experience to be very user-friendly and seamless, right? Which is why we're building that. And so it's almost come a full circle, where we started off with something that was just somebody you could speak to on the phone, and it's coming back to that.
So when we talked earlier, you told me like you pivoted in 2019, and the same year, like Y Combinator happened for you guys. Can you throw some light around that? Like what was the journey like about pivoting, and how like Y Combinator helped you?
Yeah, sure. So in 2019, we started experimenting with the job space. So in fact, Dunzo was our first customer there. The founders of Dunzo are good friends of mine. So one of them asked us to basically test a use case where we could use our bot to filter leads for them, leads of potential delivery workers that they could hire. And we did that using our WhatsApp bot, the existing bot that we had. And we were able to reduce their hiring costs by some 30% back then. So it was a very successful pilot. And suddenly we started to get companies reach out to us for the same use case. So Dunzo referred us to some other company, they referred us to Swiggy, and people started to know about Vahan. And we started to get pull from the market, which was a great sign of product market fit, right? Like while the product was very early, but there was clearly some need in the market that was unmet and that we could tap using our tech. So we decided to pivot to that space, and we saw that this market is growing at a very fast pace. So we thought, okay, great space to be. Let's try this. And at the same time, right, while we made this pivot, we started to see PMF. Our bot on WhatsApp was also starting to go viral. So I remember at some point we were getting close to maybe 300 to 400,000 people using the product every day almost. I clearly remember this one day when the product went viral and our servers just started to come down. Like we just could not handle the traffic. And we were a team of 7 people. So me and my engineers, we just got into a room. We tried various things. We tried at least 15, 20 things to try to manage the traffic, but we just could not manage it. And so we literally took the app offline and we replaced it with a Google form. So we said, okay, this is the best way to handle the traffic right now. Let's just replace it with a form so that people can fill in their details, and then we'll reach out to them later through our bot or whatever, and we'll try to get them a job.
I think it's a good headache to have.
Yeah, it was a good problem to have. And yeah, around that time, YC summer batch was accepting applications, so we applied. I think it was actually the second or third time we applied to YC.
Okay.
I think the previous times we applied, we were obviously doing skilling and we didn't have a lot of traction. So this time we had, I think, something that was going after a large market, and we had good traction. Right, and we had YC interviews in Bangalore at that time.
Okay.
So it was a 10-minute interview, rapid fire. You know, when I came out of the room, I didn't know like was it good or not. And then I think same night we got a call that we've been accepted into YC.
So like a lot of our viewers would like to know like how was the YC experience. So lot of young aspirants are applying for YC batch today. Like love to know more from about you.
Yeah. Oh, it was phenomenal. I think the biggest value add for us was the community and the network, because YC has been able to build a very unique culture in that everyone in the same community is very helpful. You know, if I write an email to, let's say, Brian Chesky, right? Yeah. Chances are that he'll respond to it. It's not 100% chance, but there's a high chance that he'll respond to it because I'm a YC founder. In fact, I write to Sam Altman once in a while and he responds within minutes because he knows we're a YC company and he loves to help YC companies. So the biggest value add, I think, beyond the funding, the brand, all of that has been access to that community of very, very smart, very capable people, right? And that is something that will help us not just at Vahan, but potentially in other companies, you know, that we might start later down the line as well. So yeah, I would say I would highly recommend YC for all founders, but I would also advise people to maybe apply once they have a little bit of traction. Okay. They should be going after a large opportunity with a good product and a solid team. But the right time to apply to YC is when you have a little bit of traction. Okay. So that you can actually put some substance behind you know, what you're building.
Yeah. And like coming back to a product, AI Recruiter, like everyone is talking about, like Swiggy, Zomato, and like big fan of the product. Yeah. Love to know about the technical details about the AI Recruiter. How does it work? And like how can a delivery boy use it? Yeah. I'd like to know more.
Yeah. So it's literally something that can be used on a regular phone. Today it supports only English and Hindi, but we're adding more languages. Our goal is to add at least 8 major Indian languages in the next year or so, and a few hundred dialects. So we're trying not just to support the language per se, but also support the way it might be spoken in different parts of India. So Hindi, for example, is spoken very differently in, let's say, Bengal versus in Gujarat versus in, let's say, in Karnataka, right? The tonality, the accent, the vocabulary, all of those things change.
Yeah. I'd like to know, like, suppose I'm a delivery boy and I want to get a job at one of these companies. Yeah. So can you give me a step-by-step process for that?
Sure. The most direct way of accessing our service is to download our app. So we have an app called the Vahan app on the Play Store that anybody can download, and then they can apply for a job. Once they've applied for a job, they'll get a call from our AI recruiter. And the AI recruiter today will qualify them. So it'll ask them whether they have a bike, whether they have a driver's license. And once that process is done, then it actually passes the call to a human. Okay. And the human is today in charge of answering questions. So if the worker has questions around salary or what type of work will be needed, etc., we get a human to answer those questions, right? And then finally, the human onboards the candidate into the platform of their choice. That could be Swiggy, Zomato, whatever it is, Zepto, Blinkit, etc. We work with all these large companies.
So yeah, what kind of filtering does happen at the AI level, and does it do the background verification as well? So in the past, we have seen instances where like bad hiring was made and like people were not happy or something bad happened, they misbehaved with the client or something like that. So I wanted to know like what kind of filtering does AI do, and like is it also part of background verification?
So AI today is used largely for document validation, PAN, Aadhaar, driver's license. These are all validated using computer vision algorithms. But then there are other aspects of background verification like criminal record check, police verification, which are done using the government APIs or sometimes even manually. That said, we are now trying to build a credentialing platform that cuts across all gig economy companies. So for example, let's say if I have worked in Zomato and let's say I have performed very well, I've gotten really good feedback from my customers, I've made a good amount of money, let's say, or let's say I've worked at Zomato, but maybe I absconded with some cash or I didn't behave well, right? Those data points now will be accessible to all companies in the ecosystem so that they can make better hiring decisions, hire better quality workers, etc. I think there will be a stronger play for AI to come in and potentially leverage that data, not just for jobs, but maybe even for unlocking other types of services.
Okay.
For example, if someone is identified as a high trust person or a trustworthy individual, then they may be offered loans, etc. Right? And so that data can be mined for a lot more in the future beyond jobs as well. That is something that we are trying to build now, and I think that will be an industry first for sure.
And like, how has been the feedback from your customers? Like, how much of cost saving they are able to do with using their services, and how much time has reduced for them? And is your service relatively cheaper than a human collar?
Yeah, so for some of our customers, we've been able to drive down hiring costs by 20% or so. This is something that we're continuously working on. Our goal is to increase scale, bring down costs, and at the same time increase quality as well.
Okay.
We're trying to achieve all three things, and I'm very confident that AI can help us achieve all three things. Today, the recruitment process is done through part AI and part human, and over the next few months, we want to completely automate that. As the underlying technology improves, for example, the real-time API that OpenAI has released recently, we are working closely with OpenAI, in fact, to apply that for our use case. It's human level latency, blazingly fast. It's able to speak other languages. In fact, even Hindi, it speaks relatively well. It still has a bit of a English or American accent, which is something that OpenAI, in fact, will have said we'll be able to remove maybe early next year. They'll develop the capability to model voices. So that ability will also come. And at that time, we'll be able to build very localized, very user-friendly experiences for people that should enable us to automate the entire end-to-end process, right? So I think through AI, we'll be able to not just reduce costs over time, but increase the scale and the quality. In fact, once the whole credentialing platform becomes real, right, that will be able to unlock a whole other level of decision making around quality for our customers.
So on tech layer, I'd like to know more about like how close you are working with OpenAI, and like what's this tech stack for Vahan AI?
Sure. So we're very lucky that we're part of the Khosla Ventures portfolio. OpenAI is also part of the same portfolio, and so we have access to their teams. In fact, I was in San Francisco in May this year, and I had a chance to meet Sam Altman. I had demoed our AI recruiter to him, and he thought it was really cool. He invited me over to the OpenAI office, and I met some of the people there. So they're also very excited about working with us on this use case because it's something that is very different. Most people are using this technology for customer support. That is still the most common use case, most prevalent use case, right? The fact that we're using this technology to bring jobs to people and to actually do good in the world, create social impact, that is something that is very different about what we're doing, right?
Any particular comment from Sam Altman you remember? Any particular message?
If I'm to quote, when he heard my, I sent him a recording of the AI recruiter. When he heard it, he said, "Oh, this is really cool." Like he said that, and then he connected me to somebody in his team, and I had a conversation. One really interesting thing that he said when I was there was that he looks at progress in AI along three dimensions. There is the speed of the advancement of the technology, so how much time it's taking. Two, the difficulty, so how easy or hard it is. And the third is societal adoption or the speed of societal adoption. How quickly will society adopt the technology? And he said that a year ago, he used to think that it will take a long time, it will be very difficult, and society will adopt it very quickly. But he said recently, in the last 6 months or so, he's completely flipped his opinion.
Okay.
He's now finding that it's taking a lot less time than what he thought. It's turning out to be a lot easier, but he feels that society will not adopt it as quickly.
Then who will adopt?
No, which means that what we thought will happen in 5 years in terms of the capabilities of the technology will happen in the next year or two.
Okay.
So it will change so fast that society will not be able to keep up with it. That is the point.
Okay.
Right? In fact, we've seen the O1 model performing at the level of PhD candidates already. Jan LeCun, you were at the Meta AI event, Siddharth, and Jan LeCun said that even today's models are as good as 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
Right? So we're still very, very early. But the fact that we're still able to perform at the level of PhD level people means that, there's a lot more that will happen. Yeah, so Elon Musk has predicted that AI could be 100,000 times more capable than human intelligence by end of this decade, which is difficult to even comprehend. Obviously, we're very familiar with human intelligence and what we can do, but what will something that is, a super intelligence and that powerful, what will that be capable of? We don't even know. We really don't even know. So I think the kind of value that can be unlocked for human civilization is just boundless. Which is why you have people making statements like, trillions of dollars of economic value will be unlocked in the next few years. Which is hard to believe. Economists and people who are studying the markets, etc., have a very hard time believing it. But I think when you're in technology and you firsthand see this kind of rapid progress, that's what makes you more optimistic about the future, right? Which is why I think a lot of the positive narrative in this space is coming from technologists, people like Elon Musk, like Sam Altman, like Vinod Khosla, etc. I think people who are not in the technology space generally are a little more pessimistic about AI or how quickly it's advancing or how quickly it might impact our civilization.
So, what are your thoughts on AGI? Is it achievable in next 1 to 2 years, like Sam Altman said?
Yeah. Okay. I think that's the main, or that was the main takeaway for me when I met him in May this year. AGI will happen a lot sooner than expected. It's hard to say exactly when, but probably within the next 2 to 5 years, we'll have some version of AGI. What is AGI is also something that's a very fluid concept. There's no hard and fast definition, right? But you'll have some version of it, some sort of intelligence that will be able to do a lot of different things.
So you mentioned names like Elon Musk, Sam Altman, Vinod Khosla, and you recently received 10 million from Khosla Ventures, and he's known for investing in startups which are making impact on lives of billions of people. So I'd like to know more about your conversation with him, how did he come on board, and what was his opinion on Vahan?
Sure. So I've known Vinod Khosla for a few years. In fact, I first met him in 2019 when we were part of the Y Combinator batch. And in fact, that's how we got connected initially. Post the Y Combinator demo day, Khosla Ventures had reached out and we had a conversation. In fact, they had invested in that round also. So that's when our relationship started. And then they led our Series A in 2021. And now they've led our Series B as well. So they've been long-time partners and believers in our business. It also reinforces our confidence. If somebody like Khosla Ventures is continuing to back us over these years, that means we are doing something right as a company. The thing that excites Vinod the most about our work is, number one, if we are successful, then what we are building can be very, very large and game-changing and highly impactful in a very positive way, right? That's number one. Number two, the fact that we're using technology to try to create that large scale impact, right? And now using Gen AI tech, obviously, to try to do that is something that obviously excites him, because he and Khosla Ventures believe very deeply in the power of this technology. And I think there are a lot of different applications for it. What we're doing, like I mentioned, I think is a very unique application. And it has the potential to change millions of lives for the better.
And like, what kind of value as a VC he adds to your company?
Yeah, so Khosla Ventures has been a great partner for us over the last almost 5 years. They obviously, beyond just the capital, are very, very tech centric, and they believe in, again, like I said, the power of the technology being able to unlock a lot of value. And they've been able to sort of, I would say, unlock a lot of networks for us that help us build some of this technology. For example, the access to OpenAI is something that has come to us through Khosla Ventures. They also are a very patient investor in the sense that they understand that unlocking a very high amount of value through this technology will take time. It's not something that can happen overnight, right? The good thing is we've been able to show a lot of progress over the last few years, and our revenues, our business model has refined to a point where not only have we scaled to a large level and we are now recruiting 25,000 people a month, but we're also unit economics positive. In fact, our unit economics are very, very healthy. So while that aspect of the company and the business has moved really well, the application of technology has also been something that has shown a lot of promise right from the start. Like I mentioned, we started off as a product on the phone to a chatbot to now just an AI that you can talk to on the phone. That is something that is just infinitely accessible, right? Anybody who doesn't even have a smartphone can access this, and hopefully not just in their own language, but also in their own dialect. So for me, AI in fact stands for accessibility and inclusivity, right? A for accessibility and I for inclusivity. And that's really what we are trying to do with this technology, right? Can we really increase access to, in our case, let's say jobs? And can we be inclusive in the sense that can everyone, regardless of language, regardless of where they live, etc., have access to this as well?
And how do you plan to utilize the recent funding, and like what improvement will you see in your AI recruiter?
So on the AI recruiter front, Siddharth, today we support just English and Hindi, but our goal is to support at least 8 major Indian languages in the next year or so, with a few hundred dialects. So not only should the AI recruiter be able to talk in Marathi or Kannada or Tamil or Telugu or Bengali or Gujarati, it should also be able to speak those languages in the way they are spoken in different regions of India. That is very, very important. We're trying to build a bot that is relatable and that is empathetic more than just a bot. One of my core beliefs is that over the next maybe 12 to 18 months, there will be a lot of AI bots around. All of us might, in fact, be spammed by a lot of AI bots. And so we are trying to design an experience that will be able to stand out when that happens, right? And I think an experience that is very empathetic, very relatable, very human-like is what will stand out. So that is one thing that we are trying to do with, or that is one objective of ours. And the second objective now is to expand beyond delivery work. So far we've been focused on the delivery space. Today we are the market leader in the delivery vertical. We work with every large delivery company: Zomato, Swiggy, Flipkart, Amazon, Zepto, Blinkit, Uber, Rapido, etc. And we are the largest recruitment partner for almost all of these companies. But now we are expanding into the manufacturing space. Specifically, electronics manufacturing is something that we are very excited about.
Yeah.
We're also expanding into the warehousing space. So we're starting to recruit people even for dark stores and large warehouses. So horizontal expansion across different industries is also something that we are doing.
So like how many delivery boys you have placed till date, and how big is the market which you are looking at and expanding? Like you mentioned about warehousing and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, so we have placed about 5 lakh delivery workers through our lifetime. And now we're placing 25,000 every month. What's interesting is that this industry hires close to 5 lakh delivery boys every month. So, which we have done in our lifetime. So there's a lot of headroom to grow in this industry itself.
Yeah.
And this industry is growing. The quick commerce space is growing at about 25-30% every year. It's going to replace e-commerce and maybe all of retail at some level. So I think that's a space that we will continue to grow in. That's a wave that we want to continue to ride. Overall, the market of blue-collar work in India is massive. There are over 500 million blue-collar workers. If you exclude people who work in agriculture, there are at least 300 million blue-collar workers in India. It's a very, very large market. We need to capture less than 1% of this market to build a billion-dollar business. So the size of the opportunity is not really debatable. I'm very excited, like I said, about manufacturing specifically. In fact, I read somewhere that in Tamil Nadu alone, in the next 2 years, close to 6 million jobs will be created in manufacturing. In Tamil Nadu alone, 6 million jobs, right? A lot of it is coming from electronics, EV manufacturing, battery manufacturing, and fabs. So chip manufacturing is also going to get set up in India very, very soon. So those spaces are also growing at a very, very fast pace. And these are large manufacturers who, again, want to work with fewer partners, fewer organized partners versus a lot of different agencies, which is a need that we can fulfill very well. So yeah, super large opportunity, and we are very excited about some of these sectors that are growing at a very fast pace in India.
And on that line, like what have been the major challenges in your journey, and how do you solve them?
Like with any startup, there have been many challenges, as you probably know. I think in the early days, the biggest challenge was finding something that people are willing to pay for. So Y Combinator's advice to all entrepreneurs is build something people want. I say that in India, you want to build something that people want to pay for. That's, I think, the approach that you need to take in India, because a lot of times the things that people use in India, they may not pay for them. So I take WhatsApp as an example, right? When WhatsApp tried to charge consumers 50 rupees a year, this was, I think, in 2016 or 17. It's been a while. But at that time, nobody paid for it. Nobody paid WhatsApp, which now all of us use multiple times a day. Our lives depend on WhatsApp. And which is why WhatsApp now makes money through enterprises. So in India, I think you have to build products that not only people will use, but people will actually pay for. So I think finding that particular offering that we could put into the market that people will pay for and pay enough for us to make profits, that itself was one of the biggest problems to solve. But we've been able to solve that, I would say, within the last 18 months or so. We have the right model in place. And now we're using AI technology to really supercharge it and take it to the next level. So I would say that's been perhaps one of our biggest challenges.
So right now, is the company profitable, and customers are ready to pay for the services?
Yeah, customers are not just paying us. We're finding that they're paying us more as we scale, which is a great place to be in. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that this industry is growing at a fast pace, right? And customers need to hire more and more people. So it's becoming a very competitive hiring market in a sense. So great place to be in. We are still an early stage company. We're at Series B, so we're not net profitable yet. But we think we can get there within the next year or so. But that's not a North Star for us at this stage. The North Star for us is to be able to impact as many lives as possible and really, really scale using the power of AI.
So in our previous conversation, you mentioned about SLMs and how they can bring down the cost. So apart from like OpenAI's real-time API, are you also planning to use SLMs in the near-term future to reduce down the cost? And we also recently met at like Meta AI Summit. So any thoughts around using Llama 2 as well, or Llama 3.2?
Yeah, we in fact did play with Llama 2. And we benchmarked it and actually performed reasonably well for our use case. It does well in Indian languages. We have also tried Sarvam's models and SLMs. They're also working fairly well for our use case. But there are certain downsides to all of these models and technologies that prevent us from delivering a really, really high quality user experience. Like I mentioned, not only are we trying to build an AI recruiter that can speak in a particular language, but the manner of speaking and the not just the voice and the tone, but the empathy that it's able to establish with the user is also very, very important for us.
Okay.
So a lot of these other technologies aren't able to provide that or support that experience. So we're very heavily indexed on platforms that are a little more mature, that provide more fine-tuning capabilities, the ability to really deliver that last mile user experience, right? That can create delight for our users.
Okay. So like as you mentioned, you have experimented with Sarvam AI models, but they market themselves like they understand Indian dialects better than OpenAI. So like are you saying that OpenAI's model are much better at Indian dialects than Sarvam AI models?
In our tests, they've sort of performed neck to neck. Sarvam's models are very fast. Very low latency because they've used different approaches, different tokenizer, smaller model size, etc. for the Indian context. And I think their models will definitely get better over time. I know that team very well. They're working very hard on this problem statement. At this moment in time, they're fairly neck to neck, and I would say OpenAI provides a little more customizability today, which helps us build better applications and overall a better user experience.
So today everyone is talking about AI agents. So like, what's your take on that? What will future look like with AI agents? And are you also planning to work with AI agents?
Yes, 100%. So they say that 2024 was the year of LLMs and 2025 will be the year of AI agents. In fact, Anthropic, I think, recently launched the first, I would say, mainstream sort of agent, right? Where the model can actually access your computer and do things on your computer, right? Which is, an agent is essentially an AI that can do things, that can take actions, right? That is a very powerful paradigm. That is a very, very powerful paradigm because then the agent can not just, let's say, plan a travel itinerary for you. It can actually go and book all your tickets for you, for example, right? Or it can actually collaborate with other AI agents and solve problems. In fact, people are already envisioning companies being run by AI agents. So imagine a world where your product managers are all AI agents and your engineers are all AI agents and they are just let loose to collaborate amongst themselves and build a product. Sam Altman said this a while back that very soon there will be a one-person billion-dollar company. So a single person who's started a company and who's using just AI to build product, to sell product, to market it, etc., etc. That will become very possible very soon. So I think it's going to be a complete game changer. And again, it's going to happen sooner than later.
So like currently, like you have found a very sweet spot in HSR, like very cozy office. So like, are you also like envisioning yourself working with AI agents in HSR?
Yeah, of course. And at some point they will also become physical. So NVIDIA has recently launched a platform for physical AI as well. And so the robotics movement is also taking off. So I'm sure the world is not very far where you'll see robots on the streets of HSR layout. I don't know what they'll do. Maybe they'll be delivering coffee or God knows what they'll be used for. But probably within the next 5 years, I think some sort of physical AI will appear. I think even here in this part of the world.
Yeah. And like, what's your vision for the company for the next 5 years?
Our vision in the next 5 years is to bring not just jobs to people, but also financial services, healthcare services, education opportunities, and maybe even access to government services. And we want to do that for at least 500 million people in India. Today, we're building an AI recruiter. That's our core focus. But over time, we want to expand that into what I call a personal advisor for all Indians.
Nice.
So imagine a bot or an advisor or an AI advisor that people will be able to talk to, that will be able to tell them where to take their next job, but also it will be able to tell them where to take a loan to start a business, or where to upskill themselves so that they can get a better job. Or if somebody is sick in the family, where they can get help from a healthcare perspective. Or there's a new Pradhan Mantri Yojana that they can enroll into. In fact, internally, we jokingly call this a Tauji. So imagine an AI Tauji that says, Beta bet main batata hu. That sort of thing. So that's what we are trying to build towards. Today, we focus on jobs, but over time, we want to enable access to a lot of other types of services that can help improve people's lives.
So I was just checking around the office and like I saw that on whiteboard you have made some plans and like I'd like to know more like what was scribbled on the whiteboard and like what's the team size as of now and, and how are you expanding?
We are now a team of about 120 odd. We are looking to at least double this team in the next 4 to 5 months or so. Our goal is not to build a massive organization. That's not the way I think companies should be built, because if you become too many people, you add a lot of inefficiencies. And typically, the larger the team, the harder it is to innovate. So we want to stay small so that we can be nimble and so that we can continue to operate at the bleeding edge of technology. That's what we're able to do today. We are one of the companies that gets access to OpenAI systems even before they've been released into the public. And we're able to build those and test those. We want to continue to do that, at least for the next few years. So, I look at Vahan becoming from 120, maybe about 300 to 400 max in the next year or two.
I wanted to ask this earlier, but why Vahan.ai is called Vahan.ai? Like, what's the reason behind the naming?
Yeah, the origin story behind the brand. So, if you notice our logo, it's actually a swan. And the swan is Saraswati's Vahan. Saraswati being the goddess of knowledge. So, initially when we started the company, we were in the skilling space and education space, right? Which is why our logo is a swan and it's called Vahan. But I think it's still relevant because we still think of the company as a vehicle that is bringing opportunities to people. So we still, connect with it and resonate with it.
Any plans to coming back to upskilling?
Yes, 100%. I think upskilling is a great value add, but it's not a great place to start. So once somebody's, let's say, gotten a job as a delivery person and they've made a little bit of money, their here and now problem has been solved, then they can think about upskilling themselves and maybe moving on to a different kind of job, right? But before you solve the here and now problem, you can't offer upskilling to people. So at some point, I think we will come back to upskilling, and I think AI will play a big role there. I believe that AI can not just teach people skills, but obviously it can augment people's skills as well. So if somebody cannot speak English today, they can use AI to speak that English for them. If somebody cannot write well today, they can use AI to do that writing for them. If somebody cannot code today, they can use AI to write that code for them. So I believe that AI will actually play a very important role in bridging the skills gap that exists in India. So 100% something that we will get into down the line.
And like last question, like what keeps you awake at night and like what keeps you motivated and going?
I think both answers are the same for me.
Okay.
What keeps me excited is the opportunity that all of us are sitting on now, with AI technology becoming so powerful and so capable. It's only up to us now to leverage that technology to unlock a lot of value for people. And our mission as Vahan is to use the technology to do good work for people, to improve their lives. So what scares me about that is that, will we be too late, or will we not be able to build the right use cases? Will we not be able to execute well? That's what scares me. So it's sort of two sides of the same coin, right? Because the tech is so powerful and it's changing so fast, there's a lot of opportunity, but at the same time, there's a lot of risk in not being able to execute well. Or will somebody else execute before? Right? So that is something that worries me sometimes. But luckily, we have a very capable team who's doing a great job, and we're working closely with the likes of OpenAI also to stay ahead of the curve.
So in that line, like how do you see India's Gen AI ecosystem growing? Like you mentioned your conversation with Pragya.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know more.
It's growing very fast. India, I think, is at the center of a lot of the movements in AI tech now, both in terms of talent and also, I think, international players now recognizing how important India will be in the Gen AI revolution over the next few years.
Okay.
So almost all large Gen AI companies now are setting up some sort of ecosystem here, because, as you mentioned, India has the second largest base of developers in the world. So people who will build with this tech are here. And if that's going to happen, then India will become one of the biggest users and exporters, I would say, of AI tech and AI applications. So I'm very excited. I think we've really just scratched the surface. It's very early days. There's a lot more to do. And the technology itself is advancing also at a very fast pace, right? So I think we'll see a lot of very exciting stuff come out in the next year or two out of India specifically.
Thank you so much, Madhav, for taking out your time. Like we could talk more, but time is limited. I really enjoyed the conversation. So thank you again for taking out your time.
Likewise, thank you for having me, Siddharth, and happy to chat anytime.
Yeah.